Okay. Sham Mesach the Ma'aser Sheni Daf Mem Chesed Mebezin Nishmas Chaim Yisodov Yesh Chaim Yisodov Gibur Bas Avon Shmishke Mil Bas Chayestes Avon Ben Zelda Yerushalmי. Yesterday we spoke about the Rambam. The pasuk is like a Byosi. I don't know, how do I know Rambam pasuk like a Byosi? Because he says in Perik Tes, Ma'aser Sheni, our Mishnah, Halacha Hey, Anovin Shel Keren Ravai, Skidu Bezin, She'olim Yushalayim, Mahalach Yom L'chol Tzad, Kedei La'ate Shukri Yushalayim, to Paris. That's the Mishnah. Now the Machlokes is the Tana Kama with the Byosi. What happens if circumstances change? So the Byosi holds it's not totally in the Tanai, it's totally in the Beis HaMikdash. When Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, your Paris, Nish Paris, Spencer, it is a Beis HaMikdash, then you have to have the Stakona, you have to bring up the Paris. When Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, Nivda Afil Samel L'chayma. Once there's no Beis HaMikdash, we do have Paris, we don't have Paris, Mishkanaf Keminah, it's not in the Paris, if we do have them or no, Lata Shuk Islam, everything is totally in the Beis HaMikdash. That's the Shitta of Rabbi Yossi. And they pass the Rambam Mefurish. Right. If the Rambam was passing like Rabbi Yossi, and the Gemara tells us on Daf Mem Tes, like Rabbi Yossi, Mefurish the Gemara, saw this yesterday. Rabbi Yossi Omer Abacha Zoyse Meres Shebeis HaMikdash Osel Libonis Koidem L'Malchus Beis David. Rabbi Yossi is a raya. Rabbi Yossi says it's totally in the Beis HaMikdash. This that you have to be pointed the Paris Samach Yishalayim, or you have to bring the Paris Yishalayim. Everything is totally in the Beis HaMikdash. It must be that the halacha is. I shouldn't say why I say it's the halacha. It must be that what happened is that the Beis HaMikdash was built before Malchus Beis David, before Mashiach comes. Why? Because you have a pasuk. This pasuk is talking about Yemos HaMashiach. It seems to be a question where the machlokes over here have to learn, like the Goyin or like the Asrila. But Akapon Malan push up shot in the Gemara. This pasuk the Gemara brings the dam anovim tishte chomer. Dam anovim tishte chomer means there will be plenty of anovim in the times of Mashiach, the Yemos HaMashiach. Tishte chomer, you have to be able to eat enough wine. There will be enough wine to drink for the Nesachim. Chomer to get rid of the Nesachim. So we see that it's totally in the Beis HaMikdash. It's Mana Mashiach. It's totally in the Beis HaMikdash. It must be that the bias was Nimna before, before Yemos HaMashiach. I did it to Gemara. It's an opening Gemara. And the Gemara says it on who? On Rabbi Yossi. Because Rabbi Yossi says everything is dependent upon if there's a Beis HaMikdash or not. When do I say they have to bring the payers up to Yerushalayim? That's Bisman. Siddur HaMikdash. It's in the Shtok HaMikdash. You don't have to bring it. It's not totally in the payers like the Tana Kama says. And the Rambam Paskins like Rabbi Yossi. This Rambam I just read. And the Rambam Paskins like Rabbi Yossi. So how is it that the Rambam Paskins in Perik Yud Aleph, Halacha Aleph, HaMelech HaMashiach Osir Lamed Lahazir Malchus Beis David L'Yoshna HaMamshala Yishoyna Uboyne Migdash U'Mekabes Nitchei Yisrael. Who's going to build the Beis HaMikdash? Melech HaMashiach. Das steht da beferisch. Das ist ein Chayra Astir des Rambam. And after this, the Rambam writes. Otherwise, he writes that Melech HaMashiach is going to build the Beis HaMikdash, and you can be marked with the Kabbonos and so on and so forth. Then he says, "Chol mi she'einem ma'amen boy, oy she'einem mechakel b'yosei, lo b'shan mi mevad hu koife tois Moshe Rabbeinu." Why does he have to bring this halacha that he built the Beis HaMikdash? What's that for the Zugen? The guy didn't call me in my Mashiach. He doesn't believe in Mashiach. The fact that he doesn't believe that Mashiach is the one that's going to build the Beis HaMikdash, that has nothing to do with this halacha. Chol mi she'einem ma'amen boy. Oh, ein Ma'amen, darf Ma'amen sein in dem Meuchet. Heißt aber gleich. Gerade the Mukatsche, Minchas Aluza, I see he brings in the back, I know where he writes it, but he brings from the Minchas Aluza bringt the Gemara Megillah. Gemara Megillah says that Sheit Faket, that Melech HaMashiach is the one that's going to build the base of Mikdash. Levi the Rambam. And Azukta the Aloch is Alamos the Machlokes Bavli Yishalmi. Azukta Michas Eluzah as the Aloch is like the Bavli. Agam what? Yeah. No. Rambam passes many times like the Yisham. Nishri the Bavli. Many times. Exceptions to him many times. So do pass the Rambam that Melech HaMashiach is going to build the base. Now. To make it, but how does the Rambam pass like Rabbi Yossi then? That's the Shrek. The Gemara says that according to Rabbi Yossi, the bayis is going to be nivna without Melech HaMashiach. To make it a little bit more interesting or complicated, however you want to look at this, Loch Rambam up and to listen in Perik Aleph, Halacha Aleph in Malachim. Look at Rambam says Sholish mitzvahs nistavi Yisrael b'shas kin Yisrael sanoris. There's 3 mitzvahs. Excuse me. And the Klal Yisrael was Nistaber when they came into Eretz Yisrael. In other words, that's when the mitzvah was originated. That's when it's noig. Limnes le'melech, melech, shenem ha'asam tosem lecha melech, u'l'achar zarei shel ha'molek, to get rid of ha'molek, shenem ha'atim chazecha ha'molek, u'livnois lehem beis ha'bechira, shenem ha'lishichnois sidishu u'vos ha'shomer. They do klor, koydem get the melech, Mashiach, Amalek, and Ochel, the Shikha was a Shomer. So it could be, I'm not sure if the Rambam is saying that this is the Seder Advarim of these 3 things, B'Shas Kin Yisrael and Yored, or they're all at the same time. I've been in Znicha, how to learn Pshat here, but the Rambam is saying that the Binyan Beis HaMikdash was done B'Shas Kin Yisrael, and B'Shas Kin Yisrael and Yored, they already had the mitzvah of Limnas Le'em Melech. Now this Limnas Le'em Melech, I don't know if this is Melech HaMashiach. This is a Melech. Sometimes it's Melech HaMelech. Sometimes Melech HaMelech get to Melech HaMashiach. It's not going to be totally nice. They're both saying that Merachna Zayin of the Klal Yisrael and Megal Zayin the Mashiach. The Mashver Zochain used to say that if a good will be Yisrael, it's 2 elections. There's no elections for good. The Klal Yisrael weiß, wer ist der Gute, und wir kennen mich up now. Klal Yisrael kennen mich up now. Klal Yisrael weiß. The Gedolim. He says this is good. Al Kaponim, but when we get to this, to the Melech HaMashiach, he's saying here that these are 3 mitzvahs. 3 mitzvahs. It could be that's what he holds. He holds like this. Why is he passing Rabbi Yossi? This is why it's not Rabbi Yossi. This is what I'm saying. Apshad. Why is he passing like Rabbi Yossi? And the Gemara says, according to Rabbi Yossi, the Binyan Beis HaMikdash was not. It was first comes the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and then comes the Melech later, arrived from this pasuk. So now I'm missing about how the Rambam puts these 2 things together. Okay, let me get right. Omar Hillel, this is Memchas.
The Gemara Megillah, I think, is the Gemara Megillah is Yitzayin basis as well. The Gemara is discussing the brachos of מעשר. The Gemara says we first do it 10 of David, we ask for Palsas David, then Tefillah, and then Avodah. So the Gemara sounds like first David Amalch comes, and then
does it say Mefurish?
That's what I'm assuming. If the Monkasher brings the Gemara Megillah, it's referring to that.
Does it say Mefurish there?
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm just choice the Monkasher's on that Gemara that it says Malchus face David comes before.
He writes Daf Yud. Okay, right, I don't know. Okay. Al Kaponim, do the Gemara. No, we're holding in the middle of the Mishnah. The middle of the Mishnah of Memches Amabey is Mishnah Gimel. Karen Ravai Beishama Yoim Ein LeChomish Vein LeBir. Karen Ravai is spotted from the Chomish, if you paid it, Vein LeBir, and you have to Mavai it. Adei Al Beishamai, Beisil Loimim Yesh Loi, there's Chomish and there's a beer. Beishama Yoimim Yesh Loi Peret Yesh Loi Oilus. Peret Oilus is one of the things that's not even again by the grapes. You have the dinim of Peret. It falls down on the ground, you have to, like it, you have to leave it for the oni. Yesh Oilus, and if it's inferior grapes, doesn't have, depends what it is, what it means, does have a shoulder, doesn't have a thing at the bottom, a zonov. Also, you have to leave it for the aniyim, but that's a question mark in Beisil and Beishamai if it's noi by Ken Ravai, because Ken Ravai has a kedusha, and if it has kedusha, so it doesn't have the din of matnas aniyim or not. But if it's mama megavaya or it's mama bayim, if you're mama megavaya, it could be spotted from peret and from oilers. He said everything goes to the gas, means there's no peret, there's no oilers, it goes to the press. and it's mama baila, and it's yours, and you don't have to give matas aniyim for it because it's din of mama gavaya. Look to Pnei Moshe. Look to Pnei Moshe. Keren Ravai, Sham Yoim Mishnah Zu Shnu Yilel Perek Zayin Tepeya, V'ilchus Sham Himu Furesh. Ravai, Hanoit Kol Eitz Machel Dinoi Kekerem. Somebody plants any machel tree has a din like a kerem. V'noi by Ravai, there's a din of Ravai. In the 4th year, Kedesiv, V'Bashon Ravis has a din like Ma'aser Sheni. Here, Kol Piri Kodesh Yilulim. Kodesh means Kodesh. Yilulim, you have to bring it to Yerushalayim. B'Soch Sheyala Perez Yerushalayim. V'oichel Sham B'Kedusha has a Kedusha like Ma'aser Sheni. Oipoida Oisam U'Mala Hadom Yerushalayim. Same thing like Yerushalayim. I guess La Yuchel Seisa, you can't schlep it. You take money and you bring it to Yerushalayim. The Shim Hilulim K'moi Chilulim Amrach Mona Achlei V'Ode Ochlei. First you have to be poided, and then you can eat it. V'Shama Yoim Mein LeChoimish. Not that Ravai, Keren Ravai doesn't have a Choimish. If you poided, you don't have to be add on to it 1/5. Even though there's a din of pigeon, like Ma'aser Sheni. In other words, if you can't bring it, it's too much to bring. You don't have to add on a Choimish to the pigeon. Like Choimish, the state is only by Ma'aser Sheni. Ve'en lo beer, and the Keren Ravai, and the Chai Levada min Abayis, because Shavada Ma'aser, because Siv Ba'ati HaKodesh min Abayis, you have to take it out of the house, you have to buy it. Zman beer, be'er Pesach, Shavaviyah, Shavshriyas. That's not knowing by Keren Ravai. It's look by Shamet. Everything by Keren Ravai has to do like Ma'aser Sheni. The Sibei Nami Kodesh. V'chol Ma'aser Oretz Kodesh Hashem. Ma'aser Yesh L'Chomish Yesh L'Biyah. Just like Ma'aser Sheni has the din of Chomish. If you paid it, you have to add on a Chomish. Yesh L'Biyah, and you have to be Ma'aser Min Abayis. Of Keren Ravai, as I held the Beisil. Beishamai. Less like Hakazei Shav, he doesn't hold from this Hakazei Shav. Kodesh Kodesh. Shami Yoimim Yesh LePeret Yesh LeEdel. By Keren Ravai, there's a din that you have a din of Peret, and if it drops on the floor, you have to leave it for the Niyim. Zoktev Ein LaNiyim Chayli Boy B'Dorchem HaBayin LeOilos, these inferior grapes Im Shara Nov and Begas and Man LaYayin Hakil Yerushalayim, because no din you have to give it out there to the Niyim. Oiniv Yala Adefus V'Yorchel B'Shayin Kamais. Sorry. Okay, let's learn a part of the Rash Shirila here. But a part of it. Look at Rash Shirila. Keren Ravai. This is the famous Gemara in the case of Mevach, and Pligi Tanoi. Ma'asova, Kulam Asis Gasin and Keren Ravai. This we saw already, he's got his Keren Ravai, Kedesiv, Kra Behedye, Ashen Nota Keren, Veloy Chiluloi. V'gom Alav Yizay Shav, with the Tua Kedisa Hosam. Ma'asova, Bekula Gasin and Netter. Istoni Keren Ravai, Istoni Netter Ravai. Showing some Machloikis. The Sfira, they call Heichad and Oga, Ola Noi Gavai. Ravai, what does the word Navai mean? Shana Revius, the 4th year in the Tiyosei, from when it was planted. Islay Dina, the Ma'aser Sheni, Mimila Tuvik, and the Fayish Gemara. All these things are noig in the 4th year. Ein loy choimish. However, Hamachal pays the Rivahai, La Aloy Sadom Yerushalayim. He wants to schlep it up to Yerushalayim because it's too heavy to bring it to Yerushalayim. He has too many grapes. What does he do? He's paid it. Now, normally, if it's your pace, you have to add on a choimish by Ma'aser Sheni, and do by Keren Ravai, ain't tzarich lo'osef pigeon. You don't have to add on a 5th. If the balav who paid it, even he's the buy them, then they call kakadusha k'ma'aser sheni. The son that the Rash is saying that the reason why there is no chaimish because it doesn't have the same amount of kedusha like ma'aser sheni. As kedusha is kodesh, ma'aser sheni kodesh. Here it says kodesh. It's not exactly sure. Kodesh is kodesh. More kedusha, less kedusha. That's what's told in the pidyon. I don't know what this means. Ein loy kol kach kedusha k'ma'aser sheni. I guess what it means is there's a din that you have to be moise b'chaimish. There's more kedusha in the chaimish, and if you don't have to put on the chaimish, it's less kedusha. Rather, it's less paid, it's more paid. But it doesn't mean in the intensity of the kedusha. That's b'chayiv the chaimish. That's what it's meant exactly. Everything has to go plus the chaimish yishlayim to eat it. Tilma the year Avos Hashem. Okay, ve'en loy bia. What does bia mean? B'shana Revi'is v'shviyis, Shamais is nizbarim min habayis. The fourth year, you have to take it out of the house. By the fourth year, has to be finished. This mice, you have to eat it, get it out. The Keren Revai, Keren Revai is not mechuyev beer, but Tamai de Beishamai. This is important to know because these are mufurish the galachas. You have to know what these halachas. But Tamai de Beishamai, Beishamai holds. Gabachami should be a pligi Rabbi Rav Shimon Gamliel. Ma'aseh, but keeping the sieve behead, you got Ma'aseh Sheni, the sieve. You have to have the go yigol ishmi Ma'aseh sieve. Mitzay shol shon and touch is called sviya zerach. That's the din of beer. Get rid of it. V'sviya inami the gomi beishamai kodesh. By Revai state kodesh and Ma'aseh Sheni state kodesh. You learn one from the other. So there has to be beer by Ma'aseh Sheni. Shemochi huchel lefash is after b'shviyas of the pligi. There's a machlokes by shviyas in the. If it's shviyas, though you know Ma'aseh Sheni boy, there's no Ma'aseh Sheni in the Shona as shviyas. Hilchach Yisrami can revive b'shviyas. If it happens that you have can revive, less beichoymish will be. Ma'aseh after kul Shoni nami please b'shamali. If you go down kodesh Ma'aseh, still loim yesh loy peret. L'mandam the pligi b'shviyas. After tamai the beisil. Tiksavi l'chumru hu di'afin kodesh Ma'aseh. It's only l'chumru. To say that it doesn't have the din of matas anim. The pater is from the kedusha of a chaimish. Ubir that you don't learn out one from the other. That's a chumah. You don't learn that out. Look, Beis Hill. Ain't no by ma'aseh lo yalfi. That you don't learn out. The mandoma b'kul shuni nami pligi. That the machlokes is all the years, even on shviyas. The ma'ik is five pekish b'kadish. Is the one kedushin. Besil Gami Kodesh, Nama Bekaren Revai Kodesh, Elulin, and it says by Ma'aseh Sheni Kodesh, Chamasa Kodesh, Lashem, Ma'aseh Sheni Yesh Lechaim Yesh Beer, is Be'ed Yisib Be'avken Revai Yesh Lechaim Yesh Beer, Yesh Leperet Yesh Leoilus. These are the word by Anovim. There's a different peret. If it falls down, Hach Boba Ben L'Ra Ben B'Shem Gamliel B'Kulei Shnei Shviyah Shavua Esneu. So the Ma'aseh Sheni Nami Pligli. The Achim Kodesh Beis Hillel Shnuya. Rabbi, tell the Rebbe go to the Beishamai. Show you. All right. Okay. Let me get back to the Gemara. Look at the Gemara. Omer Rav Hillel. B'shoyne hoyoisen yayim b'tahara l'sochem. In the beginning, it used to be that they made wine. They had to do b'tahara from the sochem to bring in the Beis Hamikdash. V'lo yoya anovim mitzuyos. And this is the pshat in the Mishnah. Why the Mishnah says that there's a takona that everything one day around Yerushalayim, the Mishnah brings us all the different cities, so on and so forth, had to come to Yerushalayim because they didn't have enough mitzuyas to make the nesachim. There was a lot of nesachim, ice days, and there wasn't enough grapes. So made a skinu, they made a takona, she'oilu Yerushalayim mahalach yoyim l'chol tzad, all the vineyards around Yerushalayim within the distance of one day to Yerushalayim. So you had to bring it to Yerushalayim. They used to take these grapes and they used to give it away to the relatives and to the neighbors and and to friends. Why were the Masakin the Chachamim in all the vineyards that to bring the pear? What about the rest of the pears? Why only Ma'atas Yishlayim? We spoke about it. Why not other pears? Why Dafka the grapes? Dafka the Farish the fish Masnisin. Why? Because the grapes, if you hold that the Revai, Keren Revai. If you got to hold Keren Revai, that's why Dafka the grapes. But not the Revai, other pears is not in this takona. Afay Mechalkin. What does it mean Mechalkin? Teseftehi. When they used to bring up the grapes to Yerushalayim, in other words, they were born you can't sell it. Because you can't sell it, what they did was, what was left over, they gave it away. They had to have wine, which is Torah, and most of it didn't remain Torah. None of it got spoiled. So there was a shortage, and because there was a shortage, they had to be misakin to bring grapes from outside Yerushalayim, all around the Yerushalayim, to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash, or to bring it to Yerushalayim. Now here is mashma, the reason why they needed it, the loy hoya anov mitzuyas. There's ice from this Gemara that the reason was mitzuyas, they needed it for the Nesachim, not lat the Shukri Yerushalayim. Afei mechalken ois l'shchenim, v'loy nisha b'yodon el dova muyi k'dei panatzoson, afilocha ashuk mu'ute, b'ois dova kal v'dova muyi. He's saying there was not a lot. What they brought up was very little. Why? Because they gave away some of it. They gave away to the shchenim, and what was left over was a little bit. About this a little bit. Look, this is wengenig. It's ma'at design the shukah Yerushalayim. Now he's saying here it was kidei l'mata. Why? Ma'at is ashuk. The shetach ma'at is ashuk. That's the end of this Gemara. So even though they says here Omer Avilu b'shoyna yosim b'tal nesachim, that's why there was a shortage, because they had a drain, they had to use it for the nesachim. So they made this takon. Look at the Rashi. B'shoyna b'zman habayis. Ho yosim yayin b'tal nesachim. In other words, there's no din in l'achta shukah Yerushalayim if there's no Beis Hamikdash. And why? Because there was no shortage. The shortage came from the nesachim. U'misi pays the chutz liyim mishum achilus mizbeach. You had to put on the yain the nesachim on the mizbeach. So maybe there was a drain. Because everything had to go for the nesachim. Of course, shorim, and there was of course shorim. So the prices went up. Once there's a shortage, the prices jump. Mechalken ois l'kevim. The loy them have a chisser peiris. She'ir hois rabosiyam. Under the apostle necha. There was a lot of people in Yerushalayim. V'dova kal hoya ma'avar ashuk. Any little thing disturbed the prices. Ma'avar ashuk means the prices jumped up. Shemnei kachoy mevi'im peiris rabos limkoi. Why? Not because there was a shortage. You wanted to drive the prices down. You wanted to make the Chum always concerned about the too high price gouging. Then you didn't need the Takana anymore, according to the Tanakama. Not the point was to bring the Nesachim from the Ravai. That's not necessary. You don't have to bring the Nesachim from the Ravai. That's not paying Hatoida. Nesachim become Okon lo yiviu elu min achun. The Nesachim was brought for Chul. Elke the fishes. Ainu Tamid, not from the Kodesh of the Ravai. The Mim, Sech the Beya, Kidei la'ate Shuki Yishlayim be'Peiris, sheyiu boi Peiris habe, should be a lot of Peiris. Mashma hochad lo hoiste elu ba'novim she'Ravai. Why only grapes? This be'achilas mizbeach. In other words, the Ita Yerushalayim was done with things that you brought on the Mizbeach. What did you bring on the Mizbeach? There's grapes, apples and pears and plums and these other things. They don't come on the Mizbeach, so there was no Ita. The Ita, the Sheinkeit from Yerushalayim was, you brought pears which you brought on the Mizbeach. Then that's it. I'm going to pay test my Sheni. The Zer L'Shoiner. Anovim shel Keren Ravai, Skinu Bezdin, She Oilin Yerushalayim, Alchim Mechel Chotzad. That's this Mishnah. Kidei Lakeshu Yerushalayim from periods that are brought in the Beis Hamikdash. Umishachor the Beis Hamikdash Nivda for the Sam L'Chaim. Why? Because it's not going to help you to be mata periods for something which is not coming on the Mizbeach. Meshakol periods of Zilin Man Abayis Nivda for the Sam L'Chaim. Why? Because you don't have this takon. I get into it.